Down the shore, there's a box under the sand. It's a case of catch me if you can. Make a mess of any other man, but darling, if you wanna dare, count your steps, 1, 2, 3. Make your mark on little old me. When you come to something waiting to be free, do it as fast as you can. Under the sun, right in the sand, holding me in the palm of your hand.
It's an illness. It's a chemical imbalance. It affects how your brain processes thoughts. You do have control over your thoughts. You do. You have no control over what it's like a little river, and debris in the river is pretty much under the power of the river. It goes along through forced by the current of the river. It just goes along. That's kind of like your stream of thoughts in your brain. It's like a river of thoughts that goes through your brain. You really don't have control over what debris goes through I know this is a horrible analogy, but it's like the thoughts come into your brain. They pop into your brain, and then they go out because another thought pops into your brain, and then it goes out because another thought pops into your brain. And so on and so on and so on. And you can decide what thought you focus on. You can decide what thought. And when you focus on that thought, it doesn't go out of your brain. It doesn't go down the river. It's like you seize it and hold it in the current, and you hold it, and you look at it, and you look at it, and you obsess on it, and it eats you alive, and you let it become who you are, and you feel all these things, and it makes you feel, and you just don't let it go, and then you finally let it go, and then another thought comes and goes, and then another thought comes and goes, and then another thought comes and goes, and then that thought is there again, and you grab it, and you look at it, and you seize it, and you obsess on it, and you feel it, and pretty quick, that thought, that thing that you keep grabbing and looking at and obsessing on and feeling bad about, starts occurring more often. It starts coming into your field of vision more and more often because you keep looking at it and attaching to it. It attracts more of that thought. More of that debris fills up your river. And that's all. Pretty quick, that's pretty much all that fills up that river because you glom onto that one thing. That is important to you. That is more real to you than all the other thoughts. You attach to that negative thought. You attach to it. You make that part of you, and you walk around and you carry that with you. That thought, that thing that you're obsessing on. You give it power over you. This is attaching to negative thoughts. You don't have any control over what comes down the river, but you do have control over what of those things you attach to and make important to you and make a part of you and believe about yourself. You have control over that. Attaching to thoughts is what you have. That is your one ability. You don't have any control over the thoughts that come down the river. You do have absolute power over what ones you attach to. And at first it's really hard when you see that one thing coming down the river that you love to grab and attach to and look at and obsess on. You see it coming and you want to grab it. It's really hard to just look away until it goes by. Look away, think about something else. Tell yourself, no, that's not right. Don't look at it. Don't give it power. Don't look at it. And it goes down the river. And you look at the river. I know this is a weird analogy, but I'm talking about the thoughts in your brain. And you maybe put something else. Oh, here's something, a little one. I mean, the other thoughts are little now because the ones that are big and the ones that stand out are the negatives that you've been attaching to and making important. You gotta look past them to the other side, the far side of the river where everything is little because you haven't been looking at those things. The little things like making your home something that you love to come home to and be in. Making your life things that you love. Your favorite food. Going to the movies. Writing in a journal. Walking. Going for walks. Which reminds me, I have to walk my dog. I've started a habit of making it part of my regime. Every morning I take Haley for a walk before I go to work. It's helping my knees. It's helping me. And it helps her because she needs to have a walk at least once a day. So anyway, eventually, if you keep looking away when you see the thought coming, when you're cognizant of the thing in your head that hurts, that you attach to, that thing, that thought that you have made so real and so much a part of you, that negative thought about yourself that has become like just so important to you. When you see that thought come into your head, when you feel that thought come into your head, when you become aware of that thought in your head, letting it go, telling yourself, that's not true, that's bullshit, that is just not true, I refuse to accept this, I refuse that, I reject that, I reject that, I reject that. Every time you get that thought, I'm not a good person, fucking reject it. Every time you get that thought, depression, something, depression isn't an illness, I'm sorry, reject it. It's like you can't even give yourself the gift of understanding that it's an illness and it's not your fault. All the things that you have that come into I'm ugly, reject it, I reject it. I have no worth, reject it. Nobody loves me. Reject it. I have no friends. Reject it. I'll never amount to anything. Reject it. I'm a failure. Reject it. These are all these kind of thoughts that can come into your head. They are wrong. They are just this. Anyway, I don't want to push this too far. I don't want to, and people are smarter than, sometimes I think I make my point, but then I keep talking about it, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, hey Diane, we get it, let's move on, okay, but that's just what I'm saying, is like, when you stop attaching to those thoughts, those negative thoughts that come into your brain, if you stop attaching to them, if you stop holding them and keeping them so where you can see them and look at them and dwell on them, and make them, part of you. When you stop doing that, and you look away, and you make yourself look at some other thought, or attach to some other thought, some happy thought, so like this guy's saying, focus on what you're grateful for. Focus on what you have, not what you don't have. Focus on what you can change, not what you can't change. You cannot change how other people behave around you. You cannot change what other people think about you. You cannot change how other people respond to you or what other people do. All these things about other people, you can't change. You cannot change the fact that all these people are at your party, but somebody that you really wanted to be there isn't there. You can't change that. But you can focus on the people that are at your party, that have given you their time and do value you enough to be there at your party. You can focus on what you've got, not what you don't. You can focus on what you can change, not what you can't change. Every time you focus on something that isn't the negative thing that you want to hold on to and let eat you alive, every time you don't focus on that, you focus on something else, that thing that's been, it loses a little of its power. Just a little. And every time it comes into your brain and you do that, it loses a little more of its power. Until eventually it's just another thought. It's just another thought, like all the other thoughts. It's not that big thing anymore. And you know, it's so much easier to not notice it as it goes by. Because, you know, just don't even, it's not even so much an effort anymore. Because it's lost the power that it had before. I'm to that point now in my life. I still have depression, I'm quite sure I do. But the thoughts, I have worked very hard. It is not easy. It is really not easy to get control over your thoughts and what thoughts you attach to. It is so hard to do it. But you can do it. And it doesn't take drugs. It doesn't even take a therapist. It doesn't. It takes understanding what's going on with your brain and what you're doing to yourself. You're giving certain thoughts power over you, and you're letting them control you. You start controlling them, and everything changes. You start realizing what you're doing and start rejecting these things that have power over you, these thoughts that you give power to. You stop giving them the power. You take away their power. They get smaller. They lose their strength. Eventually, you're in charge again. You're in charge of your own thoughts. They're not in charge of you. And that's what Byron Katie's about in her book. I'm not really a huge fan of hers because I think she's a little over the top. But her book did change my life. People say, oh, the Bible changed my life, therefore God wrote it. Lots of books change people's lives. Byron Katie's book changed my life because she made me aware. Maybe because she's a woman and she speaks the same language as me. She made me aware of what I was doing in my brain, what I was doing with my own thoughts. And awareness is the beginning is the start of the victory it is the start of getting better. Awareness, acceptance, understanding of what's going on in your own head. This girl doesn't have that yet. She doesn't have awareness or acceptance or understanding. She wants to believe that depression is not an illness. She wants to believe that, oh, it's just people who can't get over bad misfortune. It's people with insecurities. No, it's not. It's a chemical imbalance that's making your brain fucked up. And, you know, in the movie Beautiful Mind, that's a true story, sort of. He learns to I'm trying to think, compensate. He learns to compensate for the illness that he has and live a quality life despite the illness. You know, you might not get better from depression for a while. It might take a while. It might take a long time. But in the meantime, you have to live and have quality of life. And how you do that is you learn how to have power over your thoughts. You know, the depression the negative thoughts fuel depression. They add gasoline to the fire. The moment you get rid of the negative thoughts, the moment you get power over your own thoughts, that's when you're not fueling the depression. You're not giving it anything to make it worse anymore. I mean, you might still have it, but it does get better. Anyway, this video is getting too long and I do have to walk the dog and I'm running out of time. I hope she gets better. I hope she understands there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just an illness. And it's not something she has any control over. Nobody has any control over what illnesses they get. It's just an illness. And you can have depression and have a happy life and have no misfortunes in your life and not have any insecurities at all. And you could still have depression. It's not about what kind of life you've had or how many bad things that have happened to you or whatever. Anybody can get depression. Rich, successful, happy people get depression. So, anyway, gotta walk the dog and that's why she's barking. If you've been watching, thank you. Bye.